What's up, world? How y'all doing? Back again, another week of just talking ball. Got my boy Eric Foster, of course. What's going on, Eric?
What up, David? Feeling good today.
Well, you would
This
be, and you
this
know,
this Milwaukee this Marquette, but within notwithstanding, I feel all right.
well, I mean, you, you have a fallback, you have a buffer. I mean, we're gonna get into that. It was a good weekend for you, but we're gonna jump right into what we're gonna talk about, man. So these are the topics, man. We're gonna talk about, of course, a little new segment of what you mad about. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the college football uproar, the playoffs specifically, who got in and who didn't. We're gonna talk about the Big 12 championship, recap that. We're gonna preview the bowl season. There's so many bowls out there, but we're going to kind of, talk about a few specifically about matchups and how we feel about it. Heisman finalists came out this past week on the 4th, as they always do. Got some good names in there. No surprises. Maybe a few people left off, but I'm not really buying it. And then we'll get into chalk talk. So first and foremost, what are you mad about? And Eric, I'm gonna let you go first, man. You gotta tell me what you are mad about.
So it's funny that you talked about bowl season because that's kind of what I'm mad about. I'm two things. One, you talked about the Heisman finalists. Tavondre Sweat deserved to be in New York. I don't care what anybody says. You're part of the best. You're part of the best defensive line in the country. You led one of the best defenses in the country. You scored a doggone touchdown. You deserve to be in New York. But I'm mad about bowl season writ large, right? Because I'm thinking about all these players. The teams are largely going to be comprised of kids from Washington, kids from Texas, kids from Alabama, kids from Michigan, and they're trying to get ready. We're trying to get ready to go play the game of our lives. Everybody but Alabama, our first national title in, you know, many years, and I've got these distractions where I've got to go to these shows, or I've got to be on TV. I got to do, which is a great problem to have. And a lot of times these kids have dealt with outside noise before, but it just seems like an easy fix, right? Most sports don't give out their awards. They
Yeah.
don't do things until they're not a distraction, right? So that's one of the things. It's a little bit frustrating. Got me a little mad today because I know a couple of Texas players are going to win some awards, and it's going to take some significant time out of their prep. So a little mad about that, but it's a good problem to have at the end of the day.
And I agree with you. And I'm always going to reference my personal favorites, but it's a weird situation. But when Barry Sanders won the Heisman Trophy, they were actually in Japan playing a different game. I don't know if it was a bowl game or something, but he was out the country, so they had to do it via satellite, and that was probably an advantage for preparation. But you weren't gonna stop Barry anyway, so,
Right.
But I totally understand. Well,
what about you? What you mad at?
You know what the hell I'm mad at? Still, this transfer portal, and this transfer portal it's it's a new world we live in, but it's sickening. It opened up on Monday with 1,184 players in the portal.
It's over 2,000 today.
Yes, at Tuesday it was over 1,200, obviously, and then, like I say, today it is at over 2,000. And we talked about it last week. There are some reasonable situations. There are some extenuating circumstances, but I just want to get into a few real quick. All these quarterbacks that are jumping ship, starting quarterbacks that are jumping ship and going to other places. And it's so funny. It's become so commonplace now. It's not, for instance, Dylan Gabriel. It's not Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal. It's Central Florida, ex-Central Florida, ex-Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel now going into the transfer portal. So you got Riley Leonard in the transfer portal, who's the starting quarterback at Duke, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, Cam Ward, Kyle McCord, Will Rogers. Great. I mean, the names go on and on. And are you going to tell me that because of maybe a run-in with a coach or whatever the reason may be, what's the reason? Because my personal take, and everybody, as a player, coach, I have a different perspective, fans, sports writers, what have you. But my whole thing is, like, free agency in college football, I am against, because that's basically what it's become. In
Right.
NFL, there's almost most of the time a new team, or there's about 4 or 5 new players because of contract, renewals, or terminations, or what have you.
Hmm.
But now the tradition of, and it started in basketball, in the sense of one and dones and all this stuff. You don't have the same teams that you had last year. But now in football, I mean, so many players I see in this portal are going. So I mean, I can't stand it, man. And I know, it's the new world we live in, but from a coach's perspective, how are you able to build on anything? How are you able, like you said, you mentioned, we talked about the Oregon State quarterback, I can never say his name right, DJ.
DJ Ungalule.
Yes. So
Ungalule. Yeah.
yes, so he's predicted to go to Florida State. So tell me the reason. You made up a good point of going to Michigan State, because there's a coach. What the coach is, the Oregon State coach is now the new head coach at Michigan State. So that makes sense in the sense of him going there, but still, this is going to be his third team in 3 years, and it's like, what's the point? And
Well, if he stays, what are you staying for? Right? Because we still have no clue. We still have no idea what a 2-team Pac 12 looks like. How did they
yeah,
fill out that schedule? What does it mean when it comes to postseason? What does it mean for championship opportunity? So I think those two schools got to be their
yeah,
own category.
yeah. So
Because
why is he favored to go to Florida State?
now I think there are two things, right? When your coach leaves
Hmm.
and you have a school that's in flux, you think, okay, I'm going to leave to follow that guy, but then someone gets in your ear and says, well, just keep your options open
Yeah,
and look around. And then you look around and you realize, oh, okay. So then self-preservation kicks in. But I'll tell you, I look at this a little bit different than you. I look at this is it's about providing these kids with opportunities to make money, opportunities to play in situations that are better for them. It makes them no different than the coaches. And we don't like to talk about that. That's a part of the argument that gets left out. But as long as a coach can leave a school and go and find a better opportunity whenever they so decide, whenever the school can make a change to provide a better opportunity. So now I feel for the coaches, and I think there are some fixes that you can put in place. Can we I think they talked about reworking the timeline,
hmm,
and then to give coaches an opportunity to know what I've got, know what I need to go and get, right? Give me an opportunity to recoup what I lost. But I also think you'll see more coaches going to the model that Sark and Mac Brown have. Once you get in that portal, we're done.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
done.
and,
Right. So
yeah,
immediately then for those kinds of schools, it's not as much of a problem. One, because portal taketh away, but portal also giveth. But
mhm,
if I know that's the rule, right? And he's only made one exception, and that was for a kid who had given everything to the program and did everything right, and he let him play for a couple more games so that he could get tape
mhm,
for potential portal
yeah,
suitors. But if I know if that's the hard and fast rule, once you get in the portal, we're done.
mhm,
I know. So what's stopping me from building? It's just an adjustment from the university and with the infrastructure. It's like getting me to. It's hard for me to cry a river for Jimbo Fisher, right? I
mhm.
for the
Oh, no doubt.
haves and the programs that have this infrastructure and these personnel departments and all these places that can very easily adjust to this opportunity, because it's a problem or an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to provide these kids with an exceptional experience, but it's also an opportunity for schools to get better. And don't for one second think that some coaches, Deion Sanders, I'm looking at you, Matt
Mhm,
Rule, I'm looking at you,
mhm.
are using the portal as an opportunity to get better too. So I think at a level, I think in mass, if you took an anonymous poll of coaches at the Power Five level, I think once you get outside the Power Five, you probably don't like the portal maybe as much, unless you're a good FCS team that
Yeah,
benefits from that. But if you took an anonymous poll and said transfer portal or no transfer portal, I bet you
Well,
they
yeah,
say transfer
yeah,
portal.
yeah,
I
but
think
also,
it's finding the right mix
well,
of
yeah, and
what
it's
works.
got to be revisited. It's got some more regulation to be put on. I'm
But you
not
got to
sitting
give
here
me the
saying
you got to give me the regulation. You keep telling me you
what
hate
I'm
the
saying.
problem. We know the
What
problem.
I'm saying, like
What's the fix?
the amount of times you can transfer, the amount of times you're
Okay.
leaving. Like you got all the, like we talked about the JT Daniels kid last week. 4 or 5 schools. The amount of times you can leave. The timetable on
But the
you know.
first, let me make sure I understand. So for the people that are watching that may not understand, it's, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm,
It's my understanding that unless there are extenuating circumstances, and I'll name those in a second, unless there are not even three circumstances, right? Unless there are the following three circumstances, you only get one freebie, right? You only get
yeah.
one transfer that you can
Mhm,
go to. Where you get an extra is if you're a grad transfer.
mhm,
So you graduate your current school, transfer to
mhm,
another, where you get where your head coach leaves and there's a coaching change. Then you can put your name in the portal. And then last one is if the school is facing NCAA sanctions, you can put your name in the portal. So all of those, and that's where I start to, maybe say, well, what other regulations will we put? Because we already told the kids you only get one, as long as there's no adversity else behind you. But I don't know that I would feel comfortable telling the kid, okay, you used your one, but yeah, your head coach has changed. Oh, and by the way, the Oklahoma State situation in basketball, some guys 3 years ago
yeah. Well,
did some
yeah.
shady stuff,
Mhm.
and now you can't participate in the postseason.
But it's tough because it's like not me, not my problem. But life doesn't work that way.
Right.
It just can't. And I guess my perspective is from a coaching standpoint of where these coaches, yeah, you said they're getting paid and they're leaving for other jobs, but at the same time, it's a different expectation and a different responsibility as you know young men and grown men that have different responsibilities and accountabilities because you still
Yeah.
want these kids to be student athletes and the way the portal's being portrayed now it's like
Do we?
wow
Are we
it's
still
like
pretending? Are we still playing pretend? Are
what
we
I'm
still
saying is
playing pretend with that?
what I'm saying I'm not necessarily pretend but you got to take the bad with the good. And sometimes these kids aren't prepared to accept, like, okay, the kid's in the portal and he's stuck in portal hell and he's got nowhere to go. Now it's like, oh, coach, can you take me back because I didn't get picked in the portal? So how is that grown man gonna treat this kid? Because yeah, they're young men, but so now this kid's about to learn a hard lesson in a sense of you try to play the game of NIL or all the motivations to go are that the priorities are out of order in my opinion. And it's like you're being paid to win right now. And you know what I'm saying in the coaching world. And what you inherit is part of the reason why you go to certain places. But now you go here, and then this good group of kids, they go there. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, damn, he was a good coach. He was a good coach there, but now you're starting from ground zero. Or said I could have just stayed at Coastal Carolina and kept killing people. But now I'm just making up a
But you got to
hypothetical
assume that
scenario.
you had to know. I'll give real world example. They're experiencing it right now. If you're Mike Elko and you just took
Mhm,
the Texas A&M job, you
mhm,
had to know that these kids that already were very publicly, which is
mhm,
wild, by the way,
mhm.
but were very publicly flirting with the transfer portal in years past, were absolutely going to leave. They don't know you.
Yeah,
They
but
don't. Some of them you recruited, some of them, right? Because
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not that far removed. But
exactly.
you had to know that was going to happen. But you had to know I wanted that $9 million. I
Yeah,
wanted the opportunity to be on the SEC stage with a fan base very much in the vein of Texas that is desperate. A little bit different. Texas had it before. A&M never had it, but I'm
boom.
following you. I'm following you. But so you have to know those things. I think you do. The only part of your argument that I do buy and I am aligned with is you're very right that if there is a large group of kids, because this year, obviously, and I think you'll see it'll probably take 3 years for it to kind of the numbers to get wherever they're gonna be consistently. But you got 2,000 plus kids in the transfer portal.
Mhm. in the first week.
800 of them, but you've got 2,000 plus kids in the portal. Honestly, only 800, maybe 1,000 of them are going to find another Power 5 home.
Mm.
I think the numbers say that they do end up finding a home between FCS, junior college, all these other opportunities. So it it makes sense, but then it loses a little bit of steam too because these kids are still going on to get an education somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't feel as bad if
But
these kids
like you
were
said,
ending up out of
the
college.
motivation is not education. You just said, are we really going to
And it's
play
not, and it's not.
student
I'm
athlete?
under
Yeah.
no illusion, and I don't know why we still pretend
Well,
the word student athlete in football and men's basketball in particular, it drives me absolutely nuts because there is no way, and you probably get two kids at best on every team, football included, that pick the school because of the
oh,
educational
oh,
opportunity.
well, yeah. No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is sometimes, not sometimes. Well, I say so. You talk about the 1,000 other kids that if I go from let's just
They've got to go find an FCS
yeah,
home.
if
Yeah.
I go if I leave Kansas where I may have only played 3 games, where I'm got my books paid for, I'm living comfortably, I don't have a want for anything, and I'll jump in the portal, and now I'm stuck, and I have to go to wherever Emporia State, where I probably got to, work because there's no NIL money. I probably got to do this. Now you're mad at yourself and the world because and you didn't make the right call. The gamble. I just think the kids making these decisions, and I know it's not just the kids. I
How's
know.
that different from their original commitment though?
Well,
Because
look
what if I do
to me.
choose this school and it doesn't work out, or all these other, because there's still the other elephant in the room, right? Injuries and all these other things
Exactly,
that
and
take kids away from the game.
that's another thing too. And you talked about education, and me being in that room in that situation that we don't want to talk about it, but you want to put these kids in this grown man situation of go shop yourself, go do that. Well, injury changes all that, and now what are you falling back on? It may be an age old question, but like education or like I said, opportunities. When you're given an opportunity or blessed with an opportunity, you need to maximize it, take advantage of it, not just in the sense of, I'm gonna go play ball here or there, and you get injured and you haven't really built a relationship with this new place because you may have got hurt in fall camp. It's just so many things to me that can go wrong.
You sounding real, be
Well,
grateful for what you got and shut up.
what I'm saying
That's a
is,
step away from shut up and dribble, David.
well, not necessarily. I think I don't ever want to talk about how great or good I was. I would just say I was a good player. But at the same time, I also know there were thousands of other good to great players out there too. And I just think with the opportunity, I had at Kansas, I maximized what I could. Whatever they gave me, I still have. I mean, there's things outside of football and education that I gained from Kansas. And it's because of relationships, loyalty, and things like that. I understand. I don't want a kid to be shorted out of anything. But I think we're only talking about, like you say, these
This is
certain
the only
kids,
way, though.
these certain kids like the Riley Leonards and those big time players that are premier and quarterbacks to be shopped around. But what about the others? The others
Right.
that
Right.
I don't want to say they're dumb, but you only know what you know. And when you're following advice from people who's never even been where you are now, and you're left out in the cold, what happens to you now? So
But I think that will
I
start to
have
be
no problem. Yeah.
clear
Well, but
in
it
the
hadn't
future.
been
It'll
3 years
start, but
ago.
it's new, right?
But
Because
but
kids
it's still
still
not so
say,
new because kids are still left in that portal
but
limbo.
I'm saying kids still say it ain't me and it won't be me and blah blah blah. And there's a difference in showing somebody a year, 2 years worth of data versus 5 years, 10
Yeah.
years, right? In 10 years, 20% of the kids that go into the portal end up at another Power Five school. And I think it's going to make kids think long and hard. I think it's going to change recruiting, period, because I think it's
Yeah.
going to make schools not right now. I know for a fact you know it and I know that there are coaches and there are schools out there right now today that are taking swings on kids that they normally would not if the transfer portal didn't exist.
Because they can.
Because they can, because
Yeah.
they know if this kid doesn't work out or if this kid becomes a problem or all that, we can always get this kid in the transfer portal. So the same opportunities that the transfer portal is taking away potentially, I hesitate to even say it's taking it away because the kid has to make the decision to get in the portal. But the same opportunities that it may be taking away, it's also giving, because there are also a ton of kids that either maybe the coach is like, they're not, maybe not quite good enough right now, but they got the size, they got the intangibles. Maybe with a year's worth of work, let's see what we can do with them. And if not, we'll shuffle them up out of here. Right. Or kids got some character issues, got a shady home life. Let's see what they do when they're wrapped around our culture. If it works out, great. If not, we're going to shoot them out. So I don't want to lose those kids either, because we don't know what kind of opportunities it takes away as well.
Yeah, it's just it's tough, and I just think it's a lot for a college kid to handle. It's kind of like that forbidden fruit. You want to just go, you want to go out there doing, because that's just what we're
Hot
doing right
stove,
now.
you want to touch it because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
flame,
and we're
but
just
when
going
you
out there
do,
and do
bad
it.
things happen.
Yeah, and I just think I understand certain situations, but I just think the overall picture, a lot of kids are getting hurt by it, or they're misreading the situation. Because as well as I do, there's a lot of kids in like high school or college that have supporters. I'll just put it like that.
Yeah.
Have supporters that are in their ears saying, "Oh man, that coach don't know what he's doing. You're way better than that. You need to go somewhere else." But like I said, you don't know. They don't know the day to day, like what, like the care you put. Like if I'm a running back coach in a room, I've got 7 or 8 different personalities, 7 or 8 different backgrounds, 7 or 8 different lifestyles that I'm dealing with, that I'm helping, and they all have different needs, and I'm trying to shape and help them become men and productive members of society. Because we all know this football life don't last long. But now you're, like, say, fighting the portal, and yeah, there are challenges everywhere, and there's challenges that come along, and evolution. Name this transfer portal is part of college football evolution, but it's the relationships and the human, and just like, if this kid is given this forbidden fruit, he's
Yeah.
gonna take it.
Yeah.
Sometimes he can't save himself from himself, but
Right.
sometimes you want to be able to do that for them and say, hey, be a little more
Yeah.
patient. It's not necessarily shut up and dribble, but it's like, I know where you're gonna thrive because I've been there, and I'm trying to get you not just to chase the NIL, because it's just, there's too many what ifs on the con side to me. And I'm talking about overall pitch. I'm not talking about these guys that are going to come in and start right, like the quarterbacks, but that's a small sample size compared to the 2,000 plus kids that are in that portal. And so I think it's tough. I just see too many, man. Every time you turn around on social media, whatever, such is in the portal, such will
Right.
enter the portal, such. So it's too much, man. And the old saying, too much of anything is not good. So I don't
I
know,
agree.
I don't know, man. And I think, like I say, our perspective is different, because I think I'm really looking at it from a coach's standpoint of like,
Yeah.
we sweated bullets getting this kid last year, and
Yeah.
now he's
Yeah.
gone
Yeah.
this year, and these upper ups that are just looking down and say, look at our roster, and then he's gone. Like, how the hell did you lose him? It could
Yeah.
be for no reason but the NIL or so it's just it's tough, man. And like I said, you make me sound like an old man, but man, relationships and loyalty pay way longer dividends to me than right now. And the recruiting game is fickle, man. 20 plus years ago when I went through it, man, it is 9 times out of 10, I'll say, maybe, it's a little lower now, because there are a lot of like siblings and cousins that have gone through that can give kids direction. But most of the time, these kids are going through it for the first time. Most of the time, their parents hadn't experienced that either.
Right.
Not to say that college coaches are car salesmen, but they've got a job to do too. And the human element, human decency sometimes gets lost, because prime example,
I'm
not that it's
trying
a
to win.
yeah, and not that it's a bad thing, But my experience, Texas A&M. Texas A&M was the first school to recruit me when I was a sophomore. And boom, right there, they had me as far as like, this is the first school that gave me look, showed me love when nobody else did. Okay, so right now they're at the top of my list. Fast forward to my senior year when you could take visits. First school on my list was Texas A&M. I go, I have a great time at College Station.
You didn't
And
get
so,
hives when you went to College Station?
no, I didn't. And so, what's the question? You ready to commit? Are you ready to do this? Trying to be an upstanding, honest person. I say, coach, this is my number one school, but opportunities. I've been blessed with some other offers. I'm going to go visit those schools. Okay, well, either commit to us now, we got to take you off the board, and we got to go elsewhere. So as a 17-year-old, like, God, that's not fair. If you want me, just get. I'm not saying I'm gonna go those other places, but it's just, I want to weigh all my options out, So it's just one of those things. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. You and I have no say in it. They could give two squirts what we think about it, but this is just, you're very knowledgeable on, Texas, and you've really ingrained yourself in recruiting and who the Horns are looking at. I've lived it, to an extent. I've coached in it, and it's just a thing. But we beat it to death. But that's what we're mad about. And obviously, we spent a good 20 minutes on it, so we're pretty damn mad about it. So now, going on to what the whole world has been complaining about, have been cheering about, the college football playoff final rankings came out, and now he's smirking because it's been advantage Texas. So tell me what you think right now about what your Horns got, man, and what the Final Four looks like. And do you agree with the Final Four?
So before I get into before I get into the matchups, it was almost my what I'm mad about, right? Because I do not understand for the life of me why people were pretending as if this was some sort of close call, right? So one, I think the committee got it right, full stop. Two, we have to, and a part of it is self-inflicted, right? By the committee, by not, being more transparent about what their mandate was, what their thinking process was. I'll tell you who does a great job of it, the NCAA, as far as the men's and women's tournament goes. There's actual formulas. There's ways that coaches can predict scheduling and what their strength of schedules will be and how to play the right opponents at the right times, etc. So that's because of transparency, and the college football playoff will have to grow into that. But their mandate, literally in their charter, is not the most deserving, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was the most deserving, Florida State absolutely should be the 4 seed. Because they won all their games, because they faced a little adversity and got a lot of it. I don't want to even diminish it, because I know as a Texas fan what it's like to play in a game without your starting quarterback, right? So faced a lot of adversity and they found a way to overcome. So if the question was the most deserving 4 teams, absolutely. But that ain't what we talking about. That ain't the mandate. That ain't the question. The question is, who are the best 4 teams? And there is no way that someone can look at Tate Rodemaker's 1.5 games and their third quarterback, Glenn's game, and tell me that with either of those young men under center, that Florida State doesn't get boat raced in a game versus Alabama. Alabama's defense is going to score 10 points in that game, right?
Yeah.
I am not at all sure that Florida State's offense could even tie the game. I'm just not.
And you and I talked during, after the game, like late that night, and kind of gave our predictions. And my last prediction I text you was this, and I was kind of trying to encourage you, because you wasn't still sure. You just didn't.
I wasn't. I was not. I almost wrecked my car driving, trying to watch the show.
And it, human error, because the biggest argument a lot of people have is Florida State went undefeated. Now you get a little more in depth into it. You start talking about strength of schedule and things like that. And it was said on ESPN that the ACC as a whole was like the third or fourth strongest conference, when it came to that. And even the showings, like, I had a feeling in my soul that if Alabama beat Georgia, that they were going to get in. It was convincing. It was no doubt. You kind of felt it the way they came out, and they not rolled the blowout, but they rolled. They didn't struggle doing it. Obviously, the Michigan and Washington games told it, but like the 3 and 4 spots, and obviously you're gonna talk about Texas in a minute, but like Texas it makes me so mad, and you got to show up and play every week. And I guess because I have a big tie 12, when you're in the championship or conference game and you play like that, it just burns me up. So, but then you ask the question, is Texas that good, or was Oklahoma State not deserving, or you didn't know what Oklahoma State team was going to show up? Texas, now that the regular season is over for the most part, was a consistent team. They showed up in the same fashion every week. Ollie Gordon, we talked about it. You was at the game, Ollie Gordon. I was watching on TV, and he's throwing his helmet on the sideline. He's making all these gestures, but this is the big time. This is elite. If you want to be singled out as the best running back or elite talent, then you got to show up. You can't just, you could be a leader, a vocal leader, and you can say, hey, we got to get it going. Let's pick it up. But you can't be out there showing up your team to say, oh, I'm mad because I'm not getting what I usually get, my 131 yards game or whatever he averaged. But at the same time, I've been there. Every player is not going to be blocked perfectly. So now it comes on you. Make a guy miss in the backfield. Make 2 guys miss. Then get back to the point of attack and go be elite. Don't just because you're playing against the elite talent week in, week out. FBS. Division I football. So now you're against what we talked about. Arguably the best D lines in the nation, with the best interior tackle in the nation. You got to show up, man. And they didn't, and that was the outcome. But getting back to the 4. Just talking about the Florida State deal, the big stink, I gave some numbers earlier. Florida State averaged 3.4 yards a play. That's not average. That's not winning first down in any program if you're an offensive guy. And they were tied at 3 in the third quarter, and at the same time, Alabama was making their case convincingly against a team who hadn't lost the last 29 games. However many days they went undefeated. So,
it feels, what it came down to me is the couple of people, and they probably watch the show so they can get mad I said this, but a couple of people that of the people that I know that felt as if Florida State was wronged don't know ball all that well, right? Mm-hmm. And I say that because not only because it's kind of the fact, but because you don't know what you're looking for, and sometimes you don't know when and where to go deeper, because you can't evaluate just did they win or did they lose?
Yeah.
Because how did they win, right? Mm-hmm. Is it something that can be repeatable? Are they going to go and shut down Michigan the way they shut down Louisville? I doubt it.
Yeah. And there's layers to it. There's layers to it.
Right.
And I do understand on the surface they're undefeated.
Are they going to get in? Are they going to get in the Wildcat and run the ball on Michigan the way they did on Louisville? I doubt it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a couple of those things, but more importantly, like I said, you can't evaluate just did they win or did they lose? How did they look when they won? How did they win? Because for me, and it's so crucial, because not only is it not just the win and loss, but it was the effort, it was the ability, right? Because it's not people are acting like, Florida State didn't have an opportunity. Florida State had every opportunity to take this question off the board.
Yeah, to give a good showing.
They were still in control of their own destiny. They had every opportunity to take this off the board. How do I know? We've seen this before. In 2016, when people had questions about Ohio State being on their third string quarterback, they had the exact same question. Could they also had a loss too, by the way, right? And the committee had the question, and
Mhm.
it was widely known. The committee wants to see how they look with their third string quarterback to determine if they can go and compete in the playoff. And what did they do? They walked Wisconsin like a dog,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
beat them 59-0.
yeah,
There's no question there. So
yeah.
I had predicted, and I think I talked, we talked in the group chat amongst ourselves, and I said if Florida State wins, probably the number was probably 24.
Mhm.
Number was probably 24, but definitely anything more than that. They go win the ACC championship by 30. This ain't a question.
Yeah, no doubt, no
And
doubt.
by the way, Louisville gave them every opportunity. They had more possessions. They had
Yeah.
more possessions in the Louisville game than they had in any ACC game all year.
Wow, wow. Good number.
And
I
they
love
only
numbers.
scored and they only scored 16 points.
Yeah,
Right? So that I'm just sorry. I feel bad. I do feel bad
yeah.
for the kids because I do believe with Jordan Travis. And again, talking about knowing ball, right? People have to know what Jordan Travis is and what it means to have a quarterback that can beat you with his feet,
Mhm.
that can beat you with his arm, and has elite talent. Like
Yeah.
he's not just a good quarterback, no shots, but he's not Greg McElroy,
Mhm.
right? He is an elite. He's not a game manager. He's an elite quarterback talent. And by the way, this question stands for everybody. If you took Michael Penix away from Washington, same question.
Mhm.
You take JJ McCarthy off of Michigan, same question. If Quinn Ewers hadn't come back,
Yeah,
it would have been enough games by then to kind of build a resume. And it sucks when it happened, but a non-eligible bowl, a 3-8 North Alabama team, a
yeah.
5-8 Florida team,
Mhm.
and a 3-loss Louisville team. Now 4-loss Louisville team. If you couldn't show up and show out against those teams, there's no reasonable person that will believe that just because you got another 3 weeks, right? And mind you, it's not even a full 3 weeks because most programs give the kids a week off.
Mhm.
Then you use that second week to come back in condition. Then that third week, now you're beginning prep for the game,
Mhm. Game week. Yeah,
right? So there wasn't this massive opportunity for Tate Rodemaker to just go magically develop
yeah,
skills he don't have.
yeah. And even if he was just being efficient, the argument was still going to be he's not Jordan Travis. Like
But
that.
efficiency with the way that Florida State can run the ball, efficiency at quarterback, just forcing them to play one high safety, let alone two,
Yeah,
but just forcing them to take one extra person out the box with the way Florida State could run the ball would have opened up more opportunities for them. But the fact that they were able to drop 8, 9, sometimes I counted one time 10 in the box, that's unheard of.
yeah. And I'll just go back to the whole thing of it's gonna grow, as far as the amount of teams, because to avoid situations like this, because yes, there is a group of people I will agree with to say they were undefeated, and wasn't that part of the criteria? If you're a coach on that staff, if you're invested and you say,
Undefeated wasn't a part of the criteria,
well,
but
what I'm saying,
it plays a part in the
yeah,
criteria,
exactly.
yes.
And and I'm a part of that, and I win my conference, and I do all the things theoretically that was asked of us. And then this stronger element of matchups, which I agree with also, Georgia, TCU, the matchup, how is the matchup going to look? I totally agree with the the quality of the teams that were picked. Yes, Florida State is the fifth best team.
Now that's where we did. Now see that because that part did upset me a little bit, and it's like this committee. Yeah, they need a committee spokesperson because
Yeah.
Boo
Boo, boo,
Corrigan
boo.
is Boo Corrigan boo that man, right? Because he was terrible. The Bo Nix completion percentage the week before that, and then kind of his muddled answer of this, and I think there was a committee person that said anonymously. I hate it. By the way, but a committee person that said that it really sucked but we just ultimately had to think and know that Florida State couldn't go win the game or win the national
Oh no, I'll
championship.
give it to you
And
right here.
I thought that was, oh, give me the quote. Cause
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
All of us had the emotional tie, like, holy, this is really going to suck to do this. We talked about that over and over, and we just kept coming back to, are they good enough with what they have to win a national championship? And it just kept coming back to, we didn't think they could.
and
Not
that's
in this
not
world.
and I agree, and I think again, muddled messaging
Mhm.
fuels this conversation,
Yeah.
because when you say that, that is such a wrong way to look at it, because 3 of the 4 teams aren't going to be good enough to go win the national championship, and they still got in. So that's not fair. I don't want you to predict the outcome. That's not the business that they should be in. But are they one of the 4 best teams?
Yeah.
And what I did think was insightful that I heard for the first time in 10 years on the selection show was how they do the selections. So for
Mhm.
those who missed it or unfamiliar, they rank they rank the top 10 teams. The first 3 teams they take off the board. Or sorry, they rank the top 6 teams.
Mhm.
The first 3 teams they take off the board. They are in there.
Mhm.
The last 3 teams, they decide of those last 3 teams who's the best.
Mhm.
And in no scenario is Florida State, and 5 was a courtesy. 5 was just to keep them from
Yeah.
bombing the Dallas offices, right?
Within that
Because
framework, yes. Within
right,
that
because
framework of those
in
three.
no world,
Yeah,
in no world is Florida State even better than Georgia
no doubt.
today,
No doubt.
right? And they're
Yeah,
not.
no
And
doubt.
that's just a it is what it is thing. And this is another lesson. We talked about the lessons kids are going to learn and are learning through the transfer portal.
Life ain't
This
fair.
is a life lesson that Florida State kids are learning. Life ain't fair.
Yeah,
Good things aren't going to happen to you just because they are supposed to. Because you
yeah,
think I live my life the right way, good things are going to
yeah.
happen.
But
That ain't it.
what's the other side of it? Good,
That ain't it.
bad,
Because
bad things
some of the
happen to good
worst people,
people all the time.
some of the worst people I know living great lives. uh, but no, I like I said, I was just really bothered, and some of it's just people want to argue and people want to be
Yeah, yeah. No,
contrarian.
no, no, no doubt.
Um,
What's
but
your motivation? And like you say, it's this growing and learning organism within, the playoff is, because you're not gonna always get it right. Because you can even can even argue, well, give them a chance because they deserve to be there. You never know what they're gonna do. Well, that's
if
not
they change it in the future, like I said, and
yeah.
I was very clear about this. If they change it in the future to the most deserving 12, you get a completely different outcome.
That's what I'm saying. When it grows, that's what I'm saying. It'll get
But
away
even
from
at 12, if is it the best 12?
well,
Right? But there was
there's
talk
always gonna
of
be a complaint. There's
they're
always gonna be a complaint.
guaranteeing, yeah, they're
Yeah.
guaranteeing a group of 5 school and all these other things. But we can talk for hours on that.
I know we're not.
Let's talk about the team that did make it. All right.
I'm gonna say one thing though about it.
Okay.
First,
Okay.
never before has an undefeated Power Five conference champion been excluded from the college football playoff.
And never before has an undefeated Power 5 team looked this terrible at the end of the season.
So we're gonna move on because
There's your clip. Ooh, that's your clip right there. Oh, that's your clip right there. Oh my God, that was
hey,
wonderful.
I like it. But I will say this about you. This is gonna segue into you going to the game. There wasn't any discussion about the SEC being left out because the committee maintains that it's talks about teams, not conferences. There wasn't any serious consideration to include Alabama without Texas because there was so much respect in the room for the Longhorns week 2 win in Tuscaloosa. So,
Amen.
so
Amen to that.
so moving on, man. Tell me about it. How was it in Arlington? Tell
Well,
me.
you hear it in my voice 4 days later.
You know,
That boy, we had a time.
we're gonna,
Uh
we're gonna always, do, a side note before he goes into. We went to the girls' basketball game, and I got so tired of hearing that. But I digress. 49-21. your Longhorns are their last year in the Big 12 are Big 12 champions. So respect to the Longhorns. So tell me about the atmosphere, man. Tell me about the game.
If you've ever had an experience that you've looked forward to for time and years, and then you actually get it, very rarely does it feel better than you actually thought it would. And I can honestly say, and you know me, I am burnt on, my bones might be burnt orange, right? And
Agreed.
so I was very much looking forward to this game, and I thought I knew what it would feel like to win this game in this moment with these stakes, and I had no clue. I was truly, I was tired after the game. That's how
Like
emotionally,
you got a couple reps
like
in.
I played, like I played. I might have been more tired than AD Mitchell, honestly. Like I was, I was just so emotionally drained. But Texas did what they needed to do. They dominated from start to
Mhm.
finish
Yes.
in every phase of the game. And that's what you have to do when you're in this moment. You have to show up and show out. And if not for the turf monster, if not for a missed holding or PI call or two, if not for Sark being so damn classy, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that game could have been a 60 piece if he wanted it to be. So I was really impressed with the team. Sark was very much in his bag.
Mhm.
We saw just a level of creativity, a level
Oh
of
my God.
execution.
The first, oh my
Yeah,
God, the first two scores. I mean, Jesus.
yeah,
I was writing stuff down. So I make sure I record this. I
yeah,
mean, it, it,
yeah.
it ran chills through my body to call those type of plays in this type of game where it's so, like I say, the stakes were so high.
And I told you, right? I told
Yeah.
you in game in real time after he called that play and threw that
Uh-huh.
touchdown to
Yeah, yeah,
Devondre
yeah.
Sweat. I said that let me know, and I'm sure it let the team know Sark is not worried in the least bit.
Yeah.
Right. We had we had a self-inflicted wound on the next play after this where they then went and scored, right? But this, which is whatever. Where because me, I don't want them to have nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't want them to have nothing. But again, I thought that the execution was elite. And for I think only the third time this year, we've won some games convincingly, but it wasn't elite level execution from start to finish the way this one was.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with the kids and the culture, because it's so easy to fold, man, under this
Mhm.
kind of pressure.
Mhm.
It's so easy to get outside of yourself. Right, the day before, Tavondre Sweat's crowned Defensive Player of the Year in the conference. Byron Murphy is crowned Defensive Lineman of the Year. Xavier Worthy's first team. Jade Barron's first team or second team All Defense. Right, but they keep um, that mentality of they all found something. Right, Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy were determined to prove that Ollie Gordon isn't the best running back in the country.
Mhm.
Jade
Yeah.
Barron, I've never, and it's very rare. And this is a Michael Jordan sized chip, that's all I needed. Who gets second team all Big 12 and says,
I love that swag right there. So I love that
oh,
swag
okay.
right
Oh,
there. Yeah.
and like I said, right, he deserves to be in New York.
Yeah.
Because I think all elite defensive players, I don't think defensive players get enough love
Well,
when it comes to the Heisman.
Chase Young was there,
Yeah,
you know,
true, true,
so
true. And
yeah,
he was elite. Now, he
yeah,
was a
well,
little bit of a different. He had sexier stats, right?
yeah,
Run stops, tackles for loss are good and
yeah.
very valuable, and they he's going to get paid a
And
premium to do that at the
well,
next
yeah,
level.
and it
But
broke through.
sacks are the sexy thing that
Yeah,
anybody can
he
recognize, right?
broke through. But I'm gonna say this for the people out there about the whole Sweat thing. Like, I agree, he's tops. But what people don't look at is, he had 8 tackles, 4 for loss this game, but then he only had 4 tackles total the next game. Well, you're not looking at maybe he got double team, he got triple team. They every time he lined up, they ran away from him. So there's things that are kind of out of his control as far as production, or like say the sexy stats and the flash, because quarterbacks don't touch the ball every play. When you got a two-way player like when Charles Woodson did it, he's punt returning, he's playing DB, he's playing receiver on these big explosive plays. So there's things like that, but we're not going to get off subject. But yeah, so
and you know what, the defense was so elite. There were plays, this play in particular on the Keaton Crawford interception, in real time, they were in the backfield so fast, we thought it was a damn screen. We're like, oh, they run this. They not. He throwing the ball 30 yards down the field,
Yeah.
So again, everyone was dialed in. Everybody found something to go and motivate them. And now I don't think you even need that here, because you've got a national championship to go play for. And I don't know how it is in other places that win national titles. In Alabama, it's a common occurrence. So I don't know how players and teams are regarded there. But I know in Austin, Texas, a national championship is forever. I see Vince Young holding up the trophy with confetti at Rose Bowl. I see that probably 30 times a year throughout various sports things. So I look forward to seeing what this team will do with everything on the line. I love that Texas isn't predicted to just run away with this thing, because they hear the Michael Penix hype.
Yeah.
They hear, the secondary hears that that's a struggle for them. So I really look forward to how they react. But boy, you hear it in my voice. We had a time this weekend.
Yeah. And
I'll be I'll have a time in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if the good Lord see fit, I'll have a time in Houston too.
And it's representing the Big 12, so I'm gonna have to pull for them in that sense only.
By the way, how I can't, only Texas Longhorn fans will appreciate Brett Yormark not being, and I watched it on TV, and TV did not do it justice, because the microphone's connected to the TV. So it sounds as if, he was speaking clearly. You could not hear him in the stadium. Wow. You could not hear him. And that's why you see Sark telling everybody they booed and booed and booed. And but you know what? And what I love about him, and why I do think the Big 12 will thrive in the future, the Mid 12 rather will thrive in the future, is because he's a showman. He is a true showman. He, incorporating WWE into the event, into the show, got him a lot of airtime. I even watched wrestling on Monday to see kind of what they were saying,
to see if the Longhorns came up,
and they did, and did. They came up, but even before the game, he walked the Oklahoma State sideline and rallied the fans and all that. Players didn't see that, so they didn't even know that happened until later. But just leaning into that and becoming the villain, I think the Big 12 will lead the pack in the sense of they will weave storytelling into the game. You will start to slowly hear about more rivalries and coaches that don't like each other and all these things that will make you just watch.
Yeah.
Even if you don't care about the game, because candidly, it's going to be really hard to get excited about UCF versus K-State.
Well, you know what? That ain't your problem. That ain't your problem no more. I'm going to set that down. Well, best of luck in New Orleans. But I tell you what, the experts at ESPN, I told Eric about a preview. The prediction is Washington, Alabama in the national championship, and Alabama's picked to win by 2, I think, to be your national champion. So bulletin board material for the other teams. It is what it is, but we've got.
I need Kalen DeBoer to say something. I don't know if the ESPN predictor is going to be enough.
Well, it's just you use whatever you can. These are different stakes right now, and it's so far out. So we'll definitely have a lot of time to talk about it, as well as the other bowls. So, and I'm also going to drop my Jayhawks second year in a row are playing postseason. They're playing the bowl. against UNLV, who is a very good team in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl on December 26th. So I'm excited about that. My Jayhawks out there.
You guys should watch out. Their offensive coordinator, Brendan Marion, and their go-go offense. That should be part of a chalk talk in the next couple of weeks, David, so you can explain to the fans what makes them so dangerous along.
Will do. Now, new topic. The Heisman finalists have come out. What do you think? Golly, a lot of good players, 3 quarterbacks, 1 receiver. Some people thought that the quarterback from Alabama should have got in the finalist group. I don't personally think he should have. I don't think he was too inconsistent.
You're being a prisoner of the moment, and it goes back to my earlier point about Florida State. It's not only that you won, but it's how did you win? And Jalen Milroe is great. I don't look forward to potentially playing him again, but he's not in this category.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what people need to understand. Like, the official criteria.
Marvin Harrison doesn't belong either. He's not even the best wide receiver in the country. But I digress.
Who's the best wide receiver?
I'm gonna keep that to myself.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. Even numbers wise, I gotta go look. But he doesn't lead the country in anything.
Well, let's see. Let's just talk about that real quick. So Marvin Harrison, he's at 1,200 yards receiving, 15 total touchdowns. He is the first Ohio State receiver with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and that's in school history. You got to think about who's come out of that program. 800 100-yard receiving games, 15 in his career, which is the most in program history. I guess that's his resume that got him to New York.
It's who he played for, and it's the fact that he got it. This is
and who he did it against too.
And I'm not a Big Ten fan, so don't.
Well, I'm just saying, whether you're a fan or not, you got
after. We'll revisit that after bowl season. But I am not of the belief that, aside from the top 2, maybe the top 3, if you extend it down to Penn State, are very good teams that will go on to win, and we got to see who rests who. Which I hate. That may be what I hate next week. Players resting, not because I don't think they should, but because
I hate it too.
We hate it for different reasons.
Yeah,
I hate it just because I don't get to see a true matchup, and we don't get to really know what conference was better.
I hate it for that reason too, though. I do hate it for that reason, but you obviously know my reason as well. I mean, it's finishing the job, man, finishing the commitment. Yeah. Now I know there's an argument for potential. Oh, you could ruin your.
There was one. I forget it. I forget the name off the top of my head. But once that one kid got hurt, I was like, "Oh, Pandora's box." Yeah, when you got a top 10 pick get hurt, everybody's gonna do that.
Exactly.
But of the guys that are gonna be there, because votes went in before the postseason, I think it'll be Jaden Daniels.
He is the front runner. Very good.
I think it'll be Jaden Daniels. With Michael Penix a close second, Bo Nix a distant third, Marvin Harrison at the end.
Yeah,
is how I see it playing out, because Jaden Daniels was just exceptional this year. They just couldn't stop a running nose.
Oh my gosh!
But Jaden Daniels was exceptional this year, so he deserves it.
And that's the deal. So you look at Bo Nix, 4,100 yards passing, 40 touchdowns. 3 interceptions. That's pretty good. 15 straight games with multiple touchdown passes. 2 touchdown passes away from tying Marcus Mariota single season Oregon record. That's not really a resume builder, because getting close only counts in horseshoes and
hand grenades.
Exactly. So if you want to talk about the most elite individual award out, you can't talk about you're only this. Now he's gonna play in the postseason, so he's got a good chance of beating that. So that's his resume. Michael Penix.
Oh, he is going to play.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Love to see it.
Yeah, so Michael Penix, 4,200 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 rushing TDs. So that's very similar to Bo Nix. So I mean, he led the country.
How many interceptions?
9 INTs. So, six more than Bo Nix. First Washington quarterback to throw for 30 plus TDs in a season twice. Jaden Daniels, 1,100 yards rushing, 4,900 yards passing. I mean, that is big. 50 total TDs, only 4 interceptions. So he's got 10 rushing touchdowns on top of that as well. Only FBS player in history to rush for 200 yards and pass for over 350 in a single game. And he did it against Florida. Now, you could say, Florida only went this, but
Florida's bad, but they ain't that bad.
thank you. So he joined Johnny Manziel. Shout out to Texas A&M. He joined Johnny Manziel as the only player in SEC history
We love
to
you,
pass
Johnny.
for 3,500 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in a season. Only 5 players in SEC history to be responsible for 50 TDs in a season, joining Joe Burrow, Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, and Bryce Young. All 5 of those guys won the Heisman.
So this is one of those rare years where, and it doesn't happen very often, where you turn into the show and you know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of, you hem and haw between a couple of people, but this year it's not close. I think people kind of equate it to not a down year, but you just kind of hem and haw a couple of things because your Heisman is going to have multiple losses. What was their final record? They lost 2 or 3.
They lost 3.
I want to say they lost 3.
3. Yeah.
Okay.
That's 3.
So a couple of those, but even in those losses, he played well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It was quite literally on the defense and the fact that they couldn't stop running nose. So it'll be exciting. I'll still tune in, of course, but they don't need to drag it out like the selection show.
Exactly.
And like, we already know. Come on.
And it's tough. And that's what they say, the criteria about this team is always in a national championship hunt, but like say, when you have losses unfairly, that's counted against that Heisman Trophy candidate, even though it's a team sport. And so a line was written about the problems with Jaden Daniels' resume is winning matters. LSU is 9-3 this season, while the other 3 finalists have lost 3 games combined. So there's always, I love that you and I, we kind of operate in different, perspectives, and we give people a whole picture of it.
When we align, that means we're definitely right.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So that's just touching on that. We'll get into it, man. All right. So that was cool, man. Talking about the Heisman Trophy finalists, definitely look forward to see who comes away with it. But right now we're going to get some chalk talk. So check it out. All right. We're going to talk about power read from empty using speed, jet, zoom motion. All right. Put the tight end right there. We'll go off the ball. We're here. All right. So we're going weak side. So we'll go here. Inside shade from the 3. Widen them out a little bit. Nickel. Sam here. Corner here. Line up here. Put the wheel here. We're going to put this mic right here. Uh-oh, marker's running out. All right, we got everybody. All right, so we're going to do right now, we're going to motion this guy on, like say, speed motion. We just call it speed motion right now. And we're going to run a power scheme right here and read. Okay, so we all know power. We're going to gate. We're going to be back. We're going to combo here to the backside linebacker. We're going to pull up to the play side backer. We're going to read him. Okay, so we're here, motion. Take a wide path. Quarterback eyes are right here on the snap of the ball. Okay, so we're here. We're here. We're going to bluff them. Go out looking inside for anything spilling over to the safety. We get a pull read by, or should I say, we'll get a chase read. We'll go chase first. Chase read where speed is in his face. He's out here chasing this backer. Quarterback's right up the pipe. Okay, we've got running them off. This is the unblocked hitter. Good luck getting there. Okay, so empty, speed, jet, zoom motion, power read right there. Reading this guy, putting him on the island. Okay. Okay, now we're going to look at it from another look, possibly an adjustment from the defense. Same scheme, though.
Okay. So let's go. Same thing. He's outside. He's here. He's outside. This guy. Okay. So now we'll say this is the strong safety. Now they changed personnel. Let's just strong safety corner. Weak safety. We'll go free safety. So now they've moved. Try to possibly add another guy to the box to defend the run. We'll just go Will and probably hit the mic somewhere over here. All right. Same deal. Nothing changes for us right here. Okay, so zip, we're back. Comboing to him, pulling up, play side backer. We're reading him. Okay. Now you can almost get a combo if it works out that way. Okay, so bluff him, get around next level here to here. Got a guy here. He should never chase. He's coming. Same path. We're reading. Okay, quarterback's been hurting. So now he squeezes, try to play the quarterback. We give it, and we're up. Now we're up the field with blockers. Good luck with everybody else getting back there, making a play. All right. So we can have a third option. We can throw something out of it. Okay, so that's an ugly circle. Same formation. Ugh. All right. We'll give the same safety and set them up out here. Let's say that's the mic for the sake of personnel. This will be the strong corner. Free. All right. So same deal. You can influence if you want. Blocking scheme can be different. However, the front makes a call. But for right now, let's just say we're giving the same look without getting up the field to avoid a penalty. So now everything's the same here. Influence may stay here. We're here. So now we get motion. All right. Ball snap. We're going to run them off. Okay. Run them off. This guy here, run a post. He's up the pipe. And this guy's following right here, getting good space and trying to find a hole. Essentially, 3 verticals, with a post. Depending on what you want to read, he could be the determining factor, or we can throw right now. He gets in his face and hits his outside shoulder, gets in his way and goes that way. You've got all this space over here. These guys are going to be in chase mode right now, okay? So that's 3 ways to use empty, to run power read, the give, or the quarterback run, and then hit them with play action and throw the rail, 3 vertical, whatever you call it in your offense. Hope you enjoyed that Chalk Talk.
All right, so hope you enjoyed that Chalk Talk. I think that's some good stuff, man, on how you can give the same look and have multiple plays out of that same look using motion and using your reads. So that's it, man. Good show, man. I appreciate it. I thought that was some good talk about the college football, the transfer portal, hell, but I had a good time, man. I know you had a good time in Arlington, man, so we'll just look forward to
Looking
what's
forward
to
to
come.
NOLA, baby.
Oh, man. Holiday season, bowl season, it don't get no better than this, man. But we appreciate y'all, man, for watching, liking, and subscribing, man. The feedback's been great. We appreciate the support. It's been fun. As always, baby, rock chalk.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
We see y'all next time. Later.